The first words that came out of his mouth stopped me cold. The first time you say to yourself, "This time is different," you may as well follow that sentence with, "It's the most money I'm ever going to lose." This wasn't some keyboard warrior on social media. This was JJ Kinahan, a man who survived 21 years in the most brutal trading environment ever created, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange trading pit, a place where 600 people crammed together daily, screaming and fighting for every cent, where only 10% lasted more than 6 months. But here's what haunts me about that statement. It perfectly captures the psychological trap that destroys 90% of new traders within 90 days. They lose 90% of their capital in that same time frame. The infamous 90-90-90 rule that brokerages whisper about but rarely explain. Today, I'm going to take you inside the mind of a trading survivor, someone who not only lasted those brutal early months, but thrived for decades, eventually becoming CEO of one of the largest retail trading platforms in North America. His insights reveal the hidden psychology that separates the 10% who make it from the 90% who don't. And the truth he shared about what really kills traders, it's not what you think. The Pit, a laboratory of human psychology. To understand why most traders fail, we need to go back to where modern trading psychology was forged, the trading floors of Chicago in the 1980s and 90s. Kinahan described it as the ultimate Darwinian experiment in human psychology. Picture this: 600 people packed into a circular pit, the largest in the world at the time. Everyone wearing brightly colored jackets, jumping up and down, screaming prices at each other. The noise was deafening, the pressure was crushing, and the statistics were brutal. Only 10% would survive past the 6-month mark. Nobody wants you in there because you're one more mouth trying to get fed, Kinahan recalled. This wasn't just about trading skills. It was about psychological warfare. Every day was a battle, not just against the market, but against your own mind. What made the survivors different? Kinahan noticed a pattern. The people who lasted had backgrounds in competitive environments. They were athletes, skilled at games like bridge or chess. People who understood that success came through disciplined thinking under pressure. But here's the crucial insight. Even in that testosterone-fueled environment, the survivors shared one critical trait. They knew how to stop losing money before they worried about making it. Learning how to not lose money, Kinahan emphasized, and the making money will take care of itself. This principle seems almost too simple, but it reveals the first major psychological trap that destroys new traders. They focus on profits before they master losses. They dream about the wins while ignoring the mathematics of survival. In the pit, you learn this lesson fast or you were gone. You stood next to the same people every day from 8:30 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. You knew these traders better than their own families did. And in that environment, you couldn't hide from your mistakes or blame anyone else for your failures. The market, as Kinahan put it, keeps you humble. It has an almost supernatural ability to detect overconfidence and punish it mercilessly. The myth that's destroying retail traders. Fast forward to today's retail trading environment. The barriers to entry have collapsed. Commission-free trading, sophisticated platforms, endless educational content. Everything that once separated professional traders from retail traders has been democratized. You sitting at home have so much more information on a daily basis than I ever had in the pit, Kinahan observed. The playing field has been leveled in ways previous generations couldn't imagine. So why are 90% of retail traders still failing? The answer lies in a dangerous myth that pervades retail trading communities. It's a myth so pervasive that it's become accepted wisdom, yet it's destroying traders by the thousands. The myth of market manipulation. They think market makers are targeting their stop losses, Kinahan explained. This victim mentality has become the go-to explanation for every failed trade. The market makers are out to get me. They can see my stops. They're manipulating prices just to hit my positions. Kinahan's response was devastating in its simplicity. You think Goldman Sachs made billions of dollars last year because they got you for 10 cents on your one lot? Think about the psychology behind this myth. When a trader believes they're being targeted, they're absolving themselves of responsibility. They're not learning from their mistakes because, in their mind, they didn't make any mistakes. They were sabotaged. This victim mentality creates a psychological prison. If you believe the market is rigged against you, you'll never develop the skills necessary to succeed. You'll never examine your own decision-making process. You'll never grow. The reality is far simpler and far more empowering. Most retail brokers hold stop orders on their own servers, invisible to market makers. When stops get hit, it's usually because traders place them at obvious psychological levels, round numbers, obvious support, and resistance levels, places where every other trader is thinking the same thing. It's not that they're targeting you, Kinahan explained. It's that you're thinking like everyone else. This insight reveals a deeper truth about trading psychology. The crowd is almost always wrong, and if you're thinking like the crowd, you're probably about to lose money. The isolation problem: why lone wolf traders fail. One of the most powerful aspects of Kinahan's pit trading experience was something that modern retail traders completely lack: constant interaction with other traders. I stood next to the same people almost every day, he recalled. You knew more about them than their wives and children did. This wasn't just social interaction, it was a crucial part of the learning process. In the pit, you were constantly having your ideas challenged. Someone would announce they were buying Apple, and immediately 3 other traders would jump in with reasons why that was a terrible idea. Demand was dropping in China, competition was increasing, margins were being compressed. These weren't polite academic discussions. These were high-stakes debates where money was on the line. And this constant friction, this continuous testing of ideas, made everyone sharper. It made you think, Kinahan emphasized. Someone would bring up something and you'd go look and see if it was actually legitimate. Today's retail traders are operating in isolation. They make decisions alone, often in their bedrooms or home offices, without anyone to challenge their thinking. Social media provides some interaction, but it's often an echo chamber, or worse, a source of noise and confusion rather than constructive criticism. This isolation creates several psychological dangers. First, confirmation bias runs unchecked. Without anyone to challenge your thinking, you naturally seek information that confirms what you already believe. You follow social media accounts that align with your views. You read analysis that supports your positions. Second, you miss opportunities for diverse perspectives. In the pit, traders might debate individual stocks, but also discover derivative plays. If company A is doing well, maybe you should look at their suppliers or customers. This kind of lateral thinking is rare when you're trading alone. Third, you lack accountability. When you're surrounded by other professionals, your performance is visible. Your wins and losses are public. This social pressure, while stressful, actually helps improve performance over time. The solution isn't necessarily to find a physical trading community, though that would be ideal. It's to actively seek out environments where your ideas will be challenged constructively. Forums, Discord servers, educational platforms where serious traders gather to learn from each other. But here's the warning: avoid the toxic spaces where criticism turns into character assassination, where every bad trade makes you an idiot. The goal is constructive challenge, not destructive criticism. The confidence paradox. Trading psychology involves a delicate balance that seems almost contradictory. You need tremendous confidence to risk your money on uncertain outcomes, but you also need deep humility to accept when you're wrong. Kinahan identified this as one of the crucial factors that separates successful traders from the failures. You have to have humbleness, but you also have to have a level of confidence above anything. You're putting yourself out there every time you make a trade. This creates what I call the confidence paradox. How do you maintain the confidence to keep taking risks after you've been wrong repeatedly? How do you stay humble while still believing in your ability to read the markets? The answer lies in understanding what true trading confidence actually means. It's not confidence in being right. It's confidence in your ability to handle being wrong. Kinahan shared his approach. I like to define my risk on trades. I like to use spreads. I always know the worst possible thing that can happen up front. This is crucial. Confidence in trading doesn't come from believing you can predict the future. It comes from knowing you can survive whatever the future throws at you. Think about it this way. A new trader might feel confident because they believe a stock is going to go up. They're confident in their prediction. An experienced trader feels confident because they know exactly how much they're willing to lose if they're wrong. They're confident in their risk management. This shift in mindset from confidence in outcomes to confidence in process is transformational. It allows you to take calculated risks without the paralyzing fear of catastrophic loss. It lets you admit when you're wrong without devastating psychological damage. The first time you say to yourself, "This time is different," Kinahan warned, you may as well follow that sentence with, "It's the most money I'm ever going to lose." This statement captures the moment when confidence becomes dangerous, when it transforms from process-based confidence to outcome-based arrogance, when you start believing your own hype, when you think you've found the secret formula, when you convince yourself that normal risk management rules don't apply to your special situation. Every trader who's lasted more than a few years has a story about their "this time is different" moment. The trade that seemed too good to fail. The setup that was so obvious, so perfect, that they risked more than they should have. And almost invariably, those trades become their most expensive lessons. The system versus the exception. One of the most profound insights from Kinahan's career was his emphasis on developing and sticking to a system, not just a trading system, but a psychological system for making decisions under uncertainty. What makes people successful over time is, I guess I'll say, a system, he explained. You get yourself, you can try other things, but try them small. Find out what it is that works for you. This sounds simple, but it's actually addressing one of the most complex challenges in trading psychology: the tension between flexibility and consistency. Markets change. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. Successful traders need to adapt, but they also need consistency, a reliable framework for making decisions when emotions are running high and money is at risk. The solution is what Kinahan called trying things small. You develop a core system that defines your risk tolerance, your preferred trading style, your criteria for entries and exits. This is your foundation. But you also allow yourself to experiment with small positions, limited risk, clearly defined learning objectives. You can have enough pain and suffering in one contract as you can have in 100, he noted. So start with one, continue to learn, then you can always become a bigger trader. This approach solves multiple psychological problems simultaneously. First, it prevents the ego from getting too attached to any single approach. When you're testing new strategies with small size, losses don't feel like personal failures. They feel like data points. Second, it allows for growth without catastrophic risk. You can evolve your trading style based on changing market conditions without betting the farm on unproven methods. Third, it creates a psychological safety net. Knowing that you have a proven core system to fall back on makes it easier to experiment and learn. But here's where most traders go wrong. They mistake the exception for the system. They have one great trade using a new approach, and suddenly they want to abandon their proven methods to chase the latest shiny object. Or worse, they violate their system during a losing streak, convinced that this time is different, that their usual rules don't apply to this special situation. The system isn't just about trading mechanics. It's about psychological discipline. It's about creating rules for yourself that work even when you're emotional, stressed, or overconfident. The point of maximum pressure. Perhaps the most chilling insight Kinahan shared was about the market's psychological tactics. The market has one job. It has to screw each and every one of us individually somehow every day. The market has an amazing ability to take you to your point of maximum pressure. This wasn't just colorful language. It was a description of a phenomenon that every experienced trader recognizes: the market's uncanny ability to find your psychological breaking point. Think about your worst trading experiences. Chances are they followed a predictable pattern. You entered a position feeling confident. The trade moved against you slightly. You held on, expecting it to turn around. It moved further against you. Now you're starting to feel uncomfortable, but you've already lost enough that selling feels like admitting defeat. The trade continues to deteriorate. You reach what Kinahan called that sick feeling in your stomach, like you want to throw up. This is your point of maximum pressure, the moment when holding the position becomes psychologically unbearable. And this, according to Kinahan, is often exactly when the trade turns around. The trades that I've had where it's like, oh my God, this has really got me down, those end up often turning out well. Why does this happen? It's not market manipulation or cosmic conspiracy. It's psychology and mathematics combined. Markets move in cycles, and those cycles are driven by collective human emotion. When you're at your point of maximum pressure, you're usually not alone. Hundreds or thousands of other traders are feeling the same psychological stress. They're all thinking about capitulating at roughly the same levels. When enough traders reach their breaking point simultaneously, it creates the exact conditions for a reversal. The selling pressure exhausts itself. Supply and demand rebalance. The market turns. But here's the crucial insight. Kinahan was able to recognize this pattern and benefit from it because he had defined his risk up front. He knew his maximum loss before entering the trade. This psychological preparation allowed him to think clearly even at the point of maximum pressure. I've always defined my risk, he explained. I just feel like if you say, here's the worst possible thing that can happen up front, it does help you when you're right at that point. This is the difference between experienced traders and novices. Novices feel maximum pressure because they're facing unknown losses. They don't know how bad things might get. Experienced traders feel maximum pressure too, but within defined boundaries. They're uncomfortable, but they're not facing financial ruin. The modern retail revolution and its hidden trap. Kinahan witnessed one of the most dramatic transformations in financial market history, the democratization of trading. When he started, retail traders paid $100 in commissions to buy a single option. Today, most retail trades are commission-free. The technology revolution has been equally dramatic. You sitting at home have so much more information on a daily basis than I ever had in the pit, he observed. Professional-grade charts, real-time data, sophisticated analysis tools. Everything that once gave institutional traders an edge is now available to anyone with a smartphone. The educational revolution has been perhaps even more significant. Free content, professional instruction, detailed market analysis, resources that would have cost thousands of dollars are now freely available. So why, with all these advantages, are retail traders still failing at the same rate? The answer reveals a profound truth about trading psychology. Access to information and tools doesn't automatically create success. In fact, it can create new forms of failure. Consider the modern retail trader's environment. They're bombarded with information from dozens of sources: social media feeds, financial news, YouTube videos, Discord channels, Reddit forums. The signal-to-noise ratio is incredibly low. They have access to complex trading instruments that previous generations of retail traders never saw. Zero-data expiration options, leveraged ETFs, cryptocurrency derivatives. Tools that can amplify both profits and losses at unprecedented scales. They're trading in isolation, without the built-in feedback loops that kept pit traders grounded. No one is standing next to them saying, "Are you sure about that trade?" Most dangerously, the reduced friction has eliminated natural psychological barriers that once protected traders from themselves. When it cost $100 to make a trade, you thought twice about impulse decisions. When it's free, overtrading becomes a constant temptation. The barrier to entry has gone down significantly, Kinahan observed. Now the barrier to entry is self-discipline. This shift has created what I call the modern trader's paradox. Never have the tools for success been more accessible, yet never has self-discipline been more crucial for survival. The solution isn't to go backward. The democratization of trading is overwhelmingly positive. But it requires a new kind of trader education, one that focuses less on technical analysis and more on psychological discipline. The traders who succeed in this new environment understand that their biggest enemy isn't market makers or algorithms or institutional traders. It's their own impulses, amplified by technology and unleashed by reduced friction. They develop systems not just for analyzing markets, but for managing themselves. They create artificial barriers to replace the natural ones that technology has removed. They seek out communities and mentors to replace the built-in accountability of the trading floor. Most importantly, they understand that in a world where anyone can trade anything at any time, the ability to not trade, to wait for the right opportunity, to manage risk first and profit second, has become the ultimate competitive advantage. The 90% who fail are seduced by the ease and accessibility of modern trading. The 10% who succeed are disciplined by it. Conclusion: the survivor's mindset. After 3 decades in the markets, from the chaos of the Chicago trading pits to the digital revolution of retail trading, J.J. Kinahan had distilled trading success down to its psychological essence. The survivors, that crucial 10% who make it past the first 6 months, the first year, the first decade, don't succeed because they're smarter or luckier. They succeed because they understand something fundamental about the nature of trading. It's not a game you win by being right more often than you're wrong. It's a game you win by losing less when you're wrong than you make when you're right. Learning how to not lose money. Kinahan emphasized one final time, and the making money will take care of itself. This isn't just a trading principle, it's a life principle. In any endeavor involving risk and uncertainty, the ability to survive setbacks determines long-term success more than the ability to achieve short-term wins. The market will always find your point of maximum pressure. The question is whether you'll have the psychological tools to handle it when it does, whether you'll have defined your risk beforehand, whether you'll have the humility to admit when you're wrong and the confidence to try again. The 90-90-90 rule isn't a law of nature. It's a reflection of human psychology under pressure. Change the psychology and you change the outcome. The choice, as always, is yours.